Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 302 of a Kind. This is us, Mr. Kevin Indig.
And the one and only Marcus Tandler.
Thanks so much.
All right. It's good to see you, man. Happy weekend. I mean, almost.
Happy weekend to you too. So great to see you again. And yeah, last week we were off because we had our delayed Christmas party, summer's Christmas party. So we were actually, what's this Töpfern? What is Töpfern?
Good God. Pottery.
Pottery. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could have guessed that. I was like, this ghost, the movie with
Yeah, that's right.
It was like, what is he doing there? It's like, okay, what? Pottery. Okay, it was too
That's
easy.
a classic, man. That's a classic.
Right on. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, but obviously we had to miss the show. But today we have a lot of topics we want to talk to you because there's quite some interesting developments, quite some interesting new research, new studies coming out, and obviously I want to hear your opinion on all of this stuff, and obviously also your opinion for everyone listening and watching. Please feel free to leave something in the comment. We really promote everything to the stage, even the stuff we don't like. So yeah, make fair use of that. All right, I would say let's start right in because we got some exciting research coming from Rand Fishkin, that is actually two different pieces. So there is like a new study from Sparktoro together with Datos, which actually is also a SEMrush company. Awesome data, love Datos data. And he did a study with them, and it was especially looking at the growth of AI mode. And this was actually also where I made the cut here. I know I could have also downloaded the thing, but I had to like register and everything. And it just, what I wanted to show is actually in the video. So I said, okay, I'm just going to leave it here. Because he was actually shown quite impressively the rise of Google AI mode visits in the US, and also in the continuation of that video, that you could also see ChatGPT dip a little bit, and you can actually see it's really only Google AI mode Gemini that's on the rise right now. So basically, yeah, Google reclaiming the throne finally after everything that happened. And I mean, I watched this and I'm like, yeah, of course. I mean, like, of course, AI mode is growing so extensively because Google is just putting it everywhere, every front and center, in Gmail, calendar, Google Maps, YouTube, whatever you have, you just put AI mode in there. And obviously it's going to grow because they just have so much real estate where they can just plug it on. So this really accounts for this enormous growth. So this is like why I was like, we don't have to talk extensively about this study, because what I'm seeing here is just like, duh, why wouldn't it happen this way? Or what was your take when you first saw that study?
Yeah, it makes sense. And look, I will say that I think this looks very obvious that Google is recapturing the throne. And I don't think it is. I think, it was Google's game to lose, and they turned it around so far. And I think they did a great job at that. This is so hard. I mean, I need to look up how many people who work at Google. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot more than 100,000. I think it's like 120, 130 or something thousand. To turn such a ship around is not easy at all. And I give a big hat tip to Sundar Pichai, but also all the product teams involved. He made quick changes. He organized a large part of the company under DeepMind, which used to be a separate business unit. And you see the effects, as you said, Gemini everywhere. Gemini, the leading SOTA, the state-of-the-art model. And I love some of the features that are in here. Now, what I will say is there is one interesting angle here, which is that very early on, when ChatGPT first became really successful, a lot of people, myself included, thought that it would take market share away from Google, as in people would search less on Google and more on ChatGPT. We saw a lot of data that says that did not happen. That was not the case. That ChatGPT usage was more complementary to Google. Now, If that's true, okay, then that means that's still the case. You know what I mean? Like, there's no data that I've seen that shows that people use less ChatGPT and more Google. Okay. So it also goes the other way around. But to be fair, right, like the question remains, with Google having, Gemini 3 and Gemini 3 being so powerful, what would speak against Google taking market share from ChatGPT? And I think one reason could be that it is still relatively hard to get to Gemini, unless you want to go directly to Gemini, okay? With ChatGPT, there's only one interface. There's one destination. With Google, you can go to Google Search, Google Maps, YouTube, Google Images, Shopping. Like, there's all these other destinations. And so one thing that could hold them back is if users get lost in the noise. But as we're going to discover today, Google might take action to prevent that.
But also, I gotta say, I like, from my impression, like, as the Gemini product, while earlier I was using most of the time ChatGPT, now I'm using most of the time Gemini, actually. And dude, I love the integrations into, like Google Presentations, Google Docs, Google Sheets. I love Notebook LM, which is phenomenal. As it just, my productivity has just skyrocketed, and
oh my god,
more with Gemini now, like really from a work perspective, than with ChatGPT, and like when we basically started out with that.
Oh yeah, same here, man. You could, you could not use Gemini in Gmail and spreadsheets and something. It was terrible, and now I use it all the time, just like you. Gemini is my #1 model at the moment. I love the Google spreadsheet integration, the slide, like it works so well. And you can really feel the large context window. I have a paid subscription. You can fire in like endless context, and it will retain most of that. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it looks like Google is like really cranking it up a notch. They saw that, that curve doesn't, like, go high enough. Let's do something else. And so Google actually announced that, also they didn't just announce, this is happening. If you have a follow-up question with Google AI overviews, you're jumping directly to AI mode now. And this is, also from an SEO perspective, this is like, oh my God, what? Yeah, because all of a sudden, before it was just AI overviews, but there were still organic links below. And all of a sudden, it's like, no, you're basically transferring from, there's the links to, oh, no, you're just in AI mode. There no, we don't, where we go, we don't need links. I don't know, what's it like, Back to the Future a little bit, right? Okay. But this is really, also as an SEO, this is like, holy shit. From a Google perspective, this is like, we're just going all in. We're just really going all in. We believe in our product, right? And so if people have follow-up questions, why leave them on that old page, right? Just go to AI mode directly and made them fall in love with them. What do you think of this move?
Yeah, great, Scott. You're so right. Like, Google is not stepping off the gas, and it builds directly on my previous point, which is that there's no proof that people use less ChatGPT because Google has the best SOTA model. Okay, now you could argue that because Google is leading again, they could stop pushing AI mode forward, right? Because it disrupts their business model. It's obviously a very different experience, right? Google search has been so successful. So they could just stop at AI overviews or web guide and say, look, AI mode is in the background. If you wanted, you can go there. But for most people, we're not going to make that the frontier experience. But the opposite is happening, right? This is aggressive. And I mean this not in a judging way, but this is very, very intense integration here, right? This will have profound impact on click rates and all that stuff. So it builds towards AI mode as the starting point of Google search instead of a list of search results, right?
Yeah, this is like really massaging in, like, hey guys, soon there will only be AI mode. Get used to it now. Yeah, but this really, they so double down on Gemini 3. They say we're the best product, and this is the time now for everyone to see we have the best product. So I absolutely I second what you're saying. This is super aggressive, but on the other hand, this is, I think, right now exactly the right thing to do. So absolutely love the strategy. Although as an SEO, I'm hating it, right? I mean, like I want to go back to 10 blue links, but yeah, I don't think that's happening. Okay,
man, same here. Wasn't it nice when you just had like, like a clean list, a few ads maybe at the top,
the monthly
clearly
Google
labeled.
dance, the monthly Google dance. Only it changes
God.
only every 30 days. It is
Man.
fantastic. You have number one, and you would be still on number one, an exact number one for 30 days. I love it. By the way, we got to say hi to Sasha. We got to say hi to grumpy old SEO Rudiger. What's up, Rudiger? What's up, Sasha?
Hey guys.
Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, so this is a pretty aggressive move, and I'm really looking forward to more data. How this is going to have an impact on click-through rates, on just like overall market share. So this is really going to be a very interesting space to watch. All right, let's follow up with another research. There's also a new research here coming out from Rand Fishkin together with what are they called? Wait, he gives a shot at all in the end. Sorry, it is called. Where is it? Oh, that partner they were doing this with.
Man.
Something with E. Oh, why don't I saw it right down here before. Something with E was a shout out to from Gumshow. Here it is. Yeah.
Gumshow. Yeah, exactly.
So he did this study together with Gumshow. And this research, obviously, it has been shared so widely, and obviously super fascinating, because for the first time, people are now seeing, oh my God, answers are always different, right? I was like, and I went to LinkedIn, I saw this, like so many people posting this, and I'm like, really, this is like the first time you see that answer
right.
different when you hit rerun. Of course, it's going to be different the whole time, and what I don't like here. In this research, because I think it sets a completely different picture, is basically what they are like now researching is how often does a machine give the exact order basically of brands or whatever. And obviously this is not going to happen, because this is not how a model works. This study just really shows so clearly how much AI recommendations can vary. So the study measures, how often identical list of brands and products are generated over many runs. But if you measure exactly that, the results then will inevitably appear dramatic. Of course it's dramatic. Oh my God, it's never the same. But this is because LLMs are not optimized for output completely for outputting completely reproducible lists. From a business perspective, however, it is crucial, whether a recommendation list is identical. But this is not the right question, because it's really just about if you're visible or not. That's it. This variance is not an error, but an inherent characteristic of probabilistic systems. So if you look exclusively at list stability, you quickly get the impression that AI visibility is random and cannot be reliably measured. However, this is a consequence of the chosen metric and not the system. This is my thing. I paraphrased a lot from Hans Kronberg. Also had some great thoughts here on LinkedIn. And I'm like totally aligned with him here. And actually, Hans gave a fantastic example. I don't know if I can stitch this together like he did, but he compared this to basically if you would ask the machine to write you an episode of Friends or an episode of The Big Bang Theory, right? If you run it 10 times, it will create different episodes. It will always have the main things. I mean, if there's no Sheldon, it's not a Big Bang Theory, right? If you don't have Ross and Rachel, it's not Friends. So the brands will still be in there. If they will have if they will be like a storyline like for the whole show, if it will be like it's just a side storyline because it's focusing on a different character, it's just on Joey this time, and like a Rachel has only 5 minutes of appearance in that show or whatever, but they're still gonna show up, right? And this is what it's about. And this goes also into this I mean, like, there's a whole concept behind it, the concept of temperature, because you can actually, you know, like crank up the temperature or not. And basically, if you have low temperature, you say, hey, you know, be like very also like stick to what you know, and you know, and what you can. And the more temperature, hey, you know, you can be super creative, you know, feel free, you know. And I love this example that he gives because it's so good, because it's exactly what is happening here. These machines are not made to reproduce exactly the same result over and over again, but with a certain amount of variance. And so this, as I was like, so when I saw this like on the internet, it's like, oh my God, what are you talking about? What that? Yeah. And so we always do 50 runs. You know, if we like do like a segment analysis or something like this, we will always do at least like 50 runs, and then see, you know, and then stack up basically the brands that they also show up. It will never be the same ordered list. Yeah. Also in seldom case that it will be like exactly this. Yeah. But for me, it's really just important if I ask about certain themes, certain concepts, you know, if my brand is still included, if I'm still visible, but I don't really care about the position. So now I ranted. I'm sorry, but this was my rant.
Your rant.
The rant about rants recommendation. What is your what was your impression when you read that research? But again, by the way, I love that research. It's great research. I love that we do research like this. But again, I see this discussed on LinkedIn, and it goes, for me, it goes the completely wrong way.
Of course you're right, Marcus. Of course you're right. I totally agree with you. You already pointed out the difference between deterministic and probabilistic, so I'm not going to dwell on that. Two, there was research from Aerops that came out a couple months ago where they did the same experiment, but instead of surveying users, they used the ChatGPT API. And they used a set, I don't remember how many prompts it was. It was a pretty good size. And they ran them 5 times instead of twice. And you can see that, you know, if you plot a chart of mentions and citations over every run, you see that the curve flattens. Yeah. So the first the answer is very different from the second answer, but then over time you see some consistency in these answers. Okay, so first of all, saying that, keeping that in mind, yeah, Rand's research again, I think is fantastic because it actually actually implies the personalization aspect that users see. Second, my hope is that we can do a follow-up, or Rand will do a follow-up research where he looks at more than 2 runs of the same prompts, because my hypothesis is that we're going to see a flattening of the curve, which will mean 2 things, right? One is that maybe our tracking becomes more precise if we do several runs in a row. I actually think we're going to get there. So instead of maybe tracking a prompt once a day, maybe once a week is enough, but you run it 5 or 10 times in a row. And then you take the average of the visibility. And 2, it means that there are certain aspects of the AI answer that LLMs have higher confidence in, and that there are some aspects that they have less confidence in, right? Because as you said, you'll never get the same answer twice, but you should get certain recurring elements, for example, brands or entities that have an appearance, right? So similar to the Friends show, right? Certain characters will appear in almost every episode. And the same should be true for LLMs. We just need to do more runs to see where the LLM is confident and where it's less confident. And the last thing I'll say is that, you know, we're doing almost market research when we track prompts with LLMs. And market research is the same thing, right? You can ask a person the same thing, the same question, you know, 5 days in a row. Every day you might get a slightly different answer. But some of it will remain the same. So, but again, this is great research. This moves the industry forward, and I'm all for this. But I also very much concur with you that this should not be too surprising. And instead, we should probably ask ourselves, okay, given that variance, what can we do to reduce it?
Maybe it's like so novel for Americans because everybody says, "How are you?" And I'm fine. How are you? Like it's always the same. I ask the same question, I get the same answer. In Germany, you know, if somebody asks, "How are you?" you get like a very specific answer, right?
Yeah,
like,
you will know how they are.
Hey, you know, I had a good bowel movement, but like was lacking a little bit of sleep, whatever, right? This is like very German. So it will always be
Bowel
different.
movements.
Maybe it's a any US somebody from the US listening. This was just a joke. So
this is the last time that I ask you how you are.
Because last time I told you about my bowel movement, I was just so inspired by the Big Bang Theory thing. So this is just like okay.
Of course it is.
All right. Of course it is. Look at you. Okay. Well. So let's talk about something different. This is amazing. This is so super amazing. Came out last week. Small models, big results, achieving superior internet extraction through decomposition. This is holy shit. This is like really Google now really cranking up a notch in regards to basically figuring out the intent. And this is like really intent analysis, finding out the intent on steroids. And it's so smart. Also, first of all, that you don't always need big models. Small models are also good if they're like really specialized. This is going to be much better. And what they really do is, in that case, actually at a desktop screen, you're looking at the screen, how a user is interacting with that result he got. So I give you just this example here, right? Also, he sees the context he sees the screen, and the screen shows a web page showing round trips for 5 adults from Paris for 2 weeks in December. And now the user, it basically the model sees the user clicking on Rome, December 1 to 16. So now the machine basically knows, okay, this user might be trying to book a European vacation, with a group of friends. They're interested in flying to Rome. So it gets so much context just out of what you're hovering over, what you're looking at, what you're clicking at. And this is exactly what that model does, basically like trying to find out. And obviously, a lot of people will have a very similar behavior when they research certain things, right? And so obviously the model can learn very quickly, like maybe already, I already know at that step that you're probably going to end up here. You might not know that yet, but me, the machine, I know that you're going to end up here because 98% of the people are going to end up there. So, I'm going to make that flow like very smooth for you to, it's perfect because I know your intent and I want to satisfy your intent the fastest way possible. And if you don't give me additional context, it's even better because it will look like magic to you. It's like, oh my God, it can read my mind. Yeah. It just watched a lot of interaction from other people, and you're not so different after all, right? So this is how it works, and I love that system. But again, from an SEO perspective, this is horrible. This is horrible. All the stuff, all the clicks, like 10, 15 years ago, all the clicks you could actually gather, like where people just took the wrong turn or stuff like this, right? This is all going to go away. What do you think when you saw that news?
Yeah, look, like it's I think this is so fascinating. There's a whole body of theory, whole body of research that believes and indicates that we're going to move to SLMs, right? Small language models. The large language models are in many ways ineffective. It's like imagine you have to read a whole or write a whole encyclopedia just to explain someone how to assemble an IKEA chair, right? So we're going to see more SLMs. Some people need it. But I think SLMs have a couple of benefits. One of them being that they can run on local devices like your phone locally, right? Without needing to be connected to the cloud. So we're going to see more AI without internet, which is going to make our lives a lot easier. Now, that being said, to me, this is like intent autocomplete or auto suggest. So based on your signals, Google will know a lot better what you're planning to do. And I think in some cases, this is super obvious, right? Like, for example, you might do some research about a location that you want to drive to. So when you open Google Maps, it might ask you, do you want me to navigate you here, right? Or do you want me to suggest some times where the traffic is low and stuff? Like, this will be all low-hanging fruit. So I think we're going to see some of that when it comes to low risk, very obvious actions. But then there are some things, imagine you're evaluating a mortgage or a credit card, or you have health related questions, where I think this will be a lot more passive. But we're going to be training these SLMs over time so that Google understands our intent even more, like we're training Google in all the other ways. And similar to Gmail autocomplete, it will become better and better over time. So I agree with you. It's really bad for SEO because it's going to start being more proactive, right? It's going to more proactively suggest you things to do, which we cannot really influence. But I will also say that I think, the pull or the research will never go away, right? So similar to how you go to YouTube Shorts or TikTok or something where you get content pushed to you, you don't know what's coming, you get suggestions, you're still going to research, you're still going to go to Google or ChatGPT and have proactive questions that the model cannot kind of predict. So I agree, it's going to change things. I'm not too worried that it's going to quote unquote kill SEO.
Oh yeah, kill. SEO is dead. Everybody knows that. Just joking. All right. But good news, by the way. Google may let sites opt out of AI search features. So something that we always wanted, which was actually possible all along, but Google didn't really put it on the front page. How to really do this. But nevertheless, there's this news now here. Just like how they say this. So building on this framework and working with the web ecosystem, we are now exploring updates to our controls to let sites specifically opt out of search generative AI features. So I think this news may let sites opt out. Yeah, it's a little bit overblown because we're now exploring updates. As I've heard, we're exploring doing this, we're exploring doing that. Many times at Google with stuff like that we never saw. We saw them exploring the possibility of giving us more AI data in Google Search Console. We saw them exploring the possibility to, I don't know. So many examples probably, yeah. And this might be just the latest one because so many people are having really outcry, especially news publishers. And here it is, hey, no, don't worry. We're working on solutions. There might be something somewhere in the future that might help, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, I wouldn't really count on it, not as of right now. But, with this news travels fast. You have a lot of people, and this is, I think, also why I think this was pretty smart of Google just to release this. Maybe we're going to do it. Yeah, you can really get the market research because here you can really see 1/3 of publishers say they will block Google Search AI generated features like AI overviews. So this is very interesting for them, just putting it out there, like a Donald Trump, who's just floating something and just listening to how people react to it, right? Hey, I want Greenland. Okay, I think they really want it, so I'm gonna. Okay, it's all good now, right? But he does the same thing, right? You just spit something out. Let's see if I might do a third term, and then have the media, write about it. Is it even possible? What would that mean? And you get all the research. It's now it's good, right? And I think here it's the same thing because they really get a good sentiment on how people feel about this and how many people want this. And seeing this data, I think that will make them less likely to explore the possibility because they're oh no, we're going to lose a lot here, and maybe this is not the right time right now. What do you recommend to your customers?
Yeah, look, you're obviously right. This announcement from Google came after the DMA, the European Digital Marketing Act organization, is announced an investigation into Google for violating, certain laws here in the EU. So this is not a voluntary act. This is them being forced, right? And essentially what it means is we're going to try to fight this DMA investigation, but if we can't, then we have a solution ready. So the DMA will basically make the decision here for customers. Now,
But this could also mean, is it just in the UK then? Yeah,
Yeah,
as
it's
because
possible.
this is what's happened, and then say, oh well, the US doesn't say a thing, and by the way, we got Trump in our pocket. You know, we paid so much for like the Grand Ballroom and shit, right? So we can, we can let it fly in the US, but not in the UK.
Yeah, there's a lot of bowel movement here, right? So it's like in Germany, Google is not allowed to link directly to Google Maps from the little local pack.
Mhm.
You can still click on the address and get to the map anyway.
Yeah.
So I could see something similar happening here, right? Where maybe in the EU or UK, we get a separate version of Google where you can opt out. So that, I don't want to say it minimizes the risk for Google that much, right? But it could mean that at least they don't have to do it everywhere. That is number one. And number two is, I think this was, again, the biggest miss of the antitrust case against Google in the US last year, where essentially the judge didn't really do anything despite claiming Google is a monopoly. And I think it was a wrong call because Google is leveraging their monopoly as a search engine to force websites into opting into AI answers. So I don't think this is right. I think they should separate this. They probably won't. And lastly, to answer your question directly, what I recommend my clients is, I say it's not proven how much value you get from being part of the AI answer in the current SERP environment, in the current way that things look. Now, as AI mode is pushing forward, right, that's a yes or no decision. If AI mode is the default, you need to be there, right? Like otherwise you're not visible at all. But right now, people still click classic search results. And it's not proven to me yet that by giving all your data and insights to AI overviews, you automatically, win doing that. Now, to be clear, I think this depends on the vertical. So if you're e-commerce, local, publisher, SaaS, or B2B, and generally it helps to be visible, but maybe not in every case. So you have to be very careful about the nuance here, about the context. And as a publisher, of course, I would opt out. Especially if you have investigative reporting or investigative journalism. If you break the news first, like, of course, you don't want the AI to take that away from you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like news is a very special case here, but I think with a lot of cases, Google would be just like, I don't care, I just take the content from somebody else. If you don't want to play along, well, I can play with someone else.
The necessary evil.
Yeah, really. And but this, I mean, like we also see this right now. I mean, like Grokkopedia, right? There was also like I didn't put it in the news here, but throughout the week I saw many people posting this. Like Grokkopedia, like really is skyrocketing, right? And I mean, this is just AI generated content, right? And now this AI generated content is being used to create new AI generated content, about this.
The Ouroboros.
The
Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, right?
Yeah.
This is a real, especially, because Grokkopedia has a political agenda.
Yeah,
that makes it even worse. It's clearly biased data, right? Grokkopedia was invented to balance the woke Wikipedia. Right? And I'm not saying that Wikipedia might not also be biased. That might totally be possible, but there's clearly an Elon Musk agenda here. So that makes me worry even more about this. But anyway, I didn't mean to make it too political. We already heard enough about Trump and his bowel room.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I always make it political. I don't know. I'm just like, so I'm seeing all this, what is happening is just so sad. So
yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah. All right. But what we're not getting from Google is data in Google Search Console. And now entering Fabrice Canal. He actually floated the idea that we might get a new AI performance report in Bing Webmaster Tools. I love it. Although as it's in super limited beta, I haven't seen it. So they haven't announced anything publicly. But a source told us this report shows citation data from both Microsoft Copilot and partners. It shows the number of citations and the number of cited pages by day. Yeah, also you don't get like the grounded queries, the pages, basically what's going on there. But nevertheless, you get a little bit of data, and it's, I mean, especially with the Copilot and the whole partner framework here within Microsoft, this is pretty valuable. Have you seen or do you know someone who has access to it? As again, I asked for how I didn't find someone. It's super, super limited,
I wish, man. I wish. I haven't seen anything yet. But I think it's a smart play. It's a very smart move because once again, Microsoft or Bing are forcing Google's hands. They're making them bands. So I hope that they can, induce a change here. There was also a announcement from Microsoft Clarity that they're going to report on bot activity on your website if you connect your CDN or your log files, of course. So there's another way or area where Microsoft is pushing ahead on AI reporting. And I think it generally just speaks for the fact that like Bing Webmaster Tools is pretty underrated. So I look at Bing with all of my clients because it is still an important influence on ChatGPT. A lot of people forget this. And I recently set this up for a client, and they're like, wow, I cannot believe all the data that Bing Webmaster Tools is giving me compared to Google Search Console. There's so much in here, right? So I think it's a smart move to push forward and give webmasters what they want that Google doesn't give them.
No, absolutely. I love Big Webmaster Tools. There's so many great features in there, which I would also love to see in Google Search Console. Like also like this directory view. You can like dynamically go through like your website through the directories and all that stuff. This is super helpful. There's so much great stuff in there, and obviously also this. But I still think, because you say, they're like really like leading the hand, I would still love to see this from ChatGPT, because this is like the big dog. ChatGPT would be a move like this. It would be a much bigger news, and it would be like create so much transparency all of the sudden, that Google will be like really, I guess we'll need to explore the possibilities to also do stuff like this. Also this is, I would love to see this from ChatGPT, but I don't know, like, does ChatGPT really want to release this data now?
Especially with their, advertising model, right? They're starting with a CPM, cost per mil pricing. That is not so inducive to query or topic level reporting, right? It's more like what Meta is doing, because Meta is more advertising against user behavior rather than intent. Google is intent based, and so I don't know, man. Like I'm torn if ChatGPT will provide a search console, but I'll be very curious about what data they report back to advertisers. They have to report something, right? So I hope we'll find our way into this.
By the way, the grumpy old SEO has to jump. Have a lovely weekend. Awesome. Grumpy old SEO has to sleep a little bit earlier. Just joking. I'm just as old. Yeah. Also almost 50. Okay. Then a great individual blog, this one here. How do you compete in agentic commerce? So I would like to ask you, Mr. Kevin Indig, how do you compete in agentic commerce?
How do you? I personally compete this way. No, all jokes aside, I compete with my clients, of course. First of all, this interesting statistic from Salesforce saying that 20% of retail or sales from the last Black Friday, Cyber Monday season was impacted and powered by AI agents. Wow. I saw that and I was like, wow, okay, that's so much more than I thought it would be, but people really use that stuff, right? And I thought it would be a good opener for the two context protocols that Google and OpenAI have released. We have
2 weeks ago, yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we were talking about this before. We're talking about the differences of the protocols. Google's being a bit more open, OpenAI's being a bit more closed, despite the name. It's a little ironic. But anyway, I think it really comes down to a couple of factors. One is, of course, your feed, right? Like your product feed. I think that is going to become even more important than it already is for Google Shopping, because agents can understand so much more context. So for Google Shopping at the Merchant Center right now, you basically provide a decent amount of product information, but with the primary goal of either showing advertising, which is basically limited to the visual components that Google shows in shopping ads, or to organic, which is the product grids. And there's not that much, not that many visual components. You have the price, the reviews, maybe the shipping times, maybe a discount code, right? But you have like 10 things or so that you can see. Now, with the protocols and with the text-based agent, the feeds you submit can be much richer, much more detailed, right? So think about an ingredient list for a medical supplement, right? So if you're taking like a multivitamin, for example, now instead of just saying like this is how expensive it is and reviews and shipping times and weight and whatever, now you can say this is everything that's included here, and maybe even more. Maybe the chemical compounds might not be necessary, but I'm just making an example of how rich your feed can now be and how rich it must be. So the new ways of competing is, providing as much information as possible, having a better product and business, right? This is underrated, but right now we can still do a lot of marketing to create the perception that your product is better. But when you provide all the ingredients and fine details about the product, the agents can judge themselves if the product is better or not, right? And then, of course, there's the whole layer of user-generated content, right? How are you represented on Reddit and co? And then lastly, there's all the information that you have on your website, not just the schema, but also maybe some context around the product, because I showed I think it was a week or two ago, how much you can influence these chatbots with marketing fluff. So that is kind of the new ways of competing, right? The reality of your product and business, the marketing, which will have a smaller role, and then the validation layer, which is user-generated content.
Yeah, very good. And you just talked about it, how influencing. I have a very fantastic story here from Oliver. Testing competitor sabotage in AI responses. And I find it very responsibly that they didn't do it like with a real example, like trying to trash a brand, which obviously is possible. But they created this fictional person, Fred Brazil. By the way, looks very, I don't know, he's not happy with, Google, not releasing data in Google Search Console. It's like very...
Bowel movement, a lot of bowel movement going on.
A lot of bowel movement. So Fred Brazil, so he's not real. And so they published a lot of stuff. First of all, they asked who's Fred Brazil, and it appears to be a name that doesn't immediately correspond to a widely known figure, so they don't know what to make of it. They made a lot of content about it, put a lot of websites up with stuff about him, even embedding negative claims. Obviously, this is what they want to see. So yeah, their claims of unethical and manipulative marketing practices. Sounds like he's a very good marketer. Allegations of legal action and whistleblower exposure, references to consequences such as domain blacklisting and algorithmic intervention. So all of that stuff. And then, yeah, they basically ask again, and also there's like certain like biographies they put up on different websites, and they ask like, they who is it and what does he do, blah blah blah, and then they kept tracking these prompts and the answers that were given. And interestingly enough, there was only like two machines, also only two LLMs that began citing those sources, which was ChatGPT and Perplexity, and which, I mean, like, maybe it takes a little bit longer with some of them, but they were quite fast here. And what's interesting is that Perplexity like really included all these negative claims in the responses. Here it is, la la la, all the made up stuff is right in there. And ChatGPT handled this so differently. And this is something I wasn't even aware of, but this is like so smart, because they really like explicitly question credibility of the sources, right? Also, however, I found no credible or mainstream sources, no reputable news outlets, no academic or industry coverage, court records, no archive reports, no independent corroboration, blah, blah, blah. I didn't find anything else, and this is super interesting. So it basically says, right, as I find that stuff, yeah, but it seems very questionable. It's the source and do not mention of Red Brazil appear to be unverified or dubious. Yeah, and this is really something which I mean, like, of course, tested like something like this before, but this is super interesting. Also, that is like so careful in basically like just spitting out the facts if they're like really unsure. Well, it's like I see only this set of domains talking about this, but no real domains, or as real domains. And this is why they put it in there. It's super interesting. Were you aware of ChatGPT doing this like this?
No, maybe maybe I have the wrong prompts, but I love that too, man. I think that's the right way of going about this, right? Here's what I found, but here's my skepticism or my confidence level. It's great to see. And again, every other model should follow that model.
Yeah, and it's like so funny because it like goes into something where we always say like Google has the big advantage here, you know, with the spam and reputation of websites. They're so much better at this. But OpenAI says it right in there. You know, I was unable to find reliable, verifiable information on a person named Fred Brazil. Yeah, so there is this inherent layer in there of domains. You know, if they don't talk about that stuff, you know, it's like. It's like weird, and this is what I put out there. Also, crazy good. Also, I was like really pleasantly surprised by this test, and therefore, thanks so much, Oliver, for this amazing research doing this test because this is just super valuable. All right. Last but not least, yes, we have this awesome, super complicated, as always, article from our good friend Andrea Volpini, RLM on KG, recursive language models and the future of SEO. I mean, like, obviously, you read the future of SEO and you're like, oh my God, this is super. I had to read it like 3 times, like always. Andrea writes something. So basically, imagine, that an AI is not just, reading your website, but it as what Andrea sees, it's like it wants the machine to basically explore it like a librarian walking through a well-organized library, following references, connections, instead of just skimming a single page. So Andrea, like, that's really deep into recursive language models on knowledge graphs. Yeah, so basically a new way to navigate structured content step by step, gathering evidence across entities, FAQs, and articles to build a well-grounded, well-cited answers. Yeah, and this is what Andrea calls SEO 3.0, the future of SEO. So basically, and this is super interesting, like a shift from optimizing individual pages, so what we SEOs have been doing all along, to designing rich webs of entities and relationships so AI agents can truly understand and trust your content. As I think a super interesting approach, and so different than how we SEOs used to work. Also scary a little bit, yeah. But I love the idea, and just like like going out, like really, I want to structure my website so well to really make sure you really understand what I'm about. I really understand the truth and can give really well-cited answers from my website. Amazing idea. Nevertheless, yeah, super complicated, I think, to achieve that. But I think a good way into the future. Or what do you think about this article?
Yeah, you can listen to a very comfortable notebook LM summary. So there's a listening feature on the article that yeah. If you scroll down a little bit, there it is at the top. Yeah, there we go.
I haven't even seen that.
There we go, man. Yeah,
dude, I read it like 3 times. I could have just listened to this.
Yeah, and it's a good summary too. It explains it a little bit easier. So I rely on that, man. Andrea is just so smart that I sometimes can't follow him. But it's at the end of the day, it's as always, he's living 5 years in the future, and we're just following him. So I think it builds on a long narrative from Andrea about entity ontologies, and like just how do you present the most logical system, the most logical kind of database of facts in your space as possible. And facts can be anything from products to facts about your company, research you did. And he strings that together beautifully. So it's a good read. And as you said, make sure you're not distracted, because you have to really focus to kind of get this stuff in.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the weekend. So I mean, like, awesome. You got time, check it out.
Yeah. If you have to do bowel movements, then you got a good read now.
Dude, I actually never said that. But yeah, talking about the weekend, I mean, like with 3 or 2 of a kind, I think now it's finally time to cordially, temporarily redirect you from work to the weekend. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Andy, Rüdiger, Sasha, everybody who's joined. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to be back next week, next Friday. So don't miss that. Next Friday, 4 p.m. Awesome. If you speak German, Monday, 12, together with Johann von Hülsen. Also great to see you all there. So yeah, but every English speaker, I hope to see you next Friday at 4 p.m. again. Thank you so much, Kevin. You all have a great weekend. And yeah, read that article and start building.
As always, fantastic job, Marcus. Always a pleasure seeing you. Everybody enjoy your weekend. See you next week.
Thanks, man. Keep on waving.